This one over here, something got in it and out of it. So, I mean, that could be a squirrel, could be a rabbit. This one's just pushed right out of the way. There's a bit of fur on there. All right, well, it's the next day and I'm having a look around. I set some snares yesterday in one spot because that's the only spot I saw rabbit tracks. Anyway, I'm going to do the whole loop again today. The video is not going to be as long, so I'm just going to check the spots where I've gotten rabbits before, year after year after year, just to see if there's any sign at all. So here's spot number one. This was the first spot I showed in the last video, and once again, no sign, no tracks at all. I mean, this is has been for years a heavily used trail. Right, where I don't know if you can notice that, but there's like a tunnel going down there, right? A heavily used rabbit trail where I get 1 or 2 rabbits every year. And I would never snare it to complete exhaustion. I'd get a couple rabbits and I'd just leave it be, right? It tends to be a way I do things. I never want to exhaust an area. Although with rabbits, I don't know if that's even possible. But yeah, this snow, so we haven't gotten any new snow. So this snow layer has been down for 30 hours. We had a decent moon last night. I mean, I got up at 5 a.m. You could, the snow was sort of lit up from the night sky, so they would have been out last night. So I don't understand this at all, right? Same thing as last year, nothing here. And let's go check the next spot. So here's another one of the spots I showed yesterday, which I've gotten rabbits in year after year after year. And still no tracks here. Now I have noticed adjacent to it right here porcupine tracks. So there's a porcupine out here, but that's not what I'm after. Right? I'm guessing it's a nocturnal. Most of the porcupines out here, you hardly ever see them in the woods. It's very, very rare. At least in this forest, they tend to be very nocturnal in the winter anyway. And when I see them on my property, it's always 3 a.m., 2 a.m., midnight. Sometimes you see them at dusk. Anyway, I don't care. I'm not looking after porcupines. So there's some sign of life here, but I haven't seen one set of rabbit tracks. I'm now at least 1 kilometer into the woods, maybe a little more. So this is the third high volume area, an area where I get rabbits year after year after year after year. And I even shot one up in there, but it had tumors on its liver and slight discoloration, and no tracks, no sign, no poop, no nothing. Right? This is something else. Also this spot here, like you can even see like an old flag on there, but no tracks through there, nothing down through there. This is usually littered with tracks, and there's nothing happening here. This is just something else. I can't believe it. Boy, something came through here. I'm gonna guess it was a deer. See a deep hole here, deep hole here, deep hole's going that way. Another deep hole here. I mean, I can't see a deer going in. Look at that hole. Going into so many holes like that. No track there. I guess it goes off in that direction. I can't see a deer being that hole there. Can't see a deer being that clumsy, right? And not knowing how to avoid those. And here's some more sign here. I tell you, I've seen every kind of track except rabbit track. I've seen deer tracks, lots of those today. I've seen what looks like some coyote and what might have been bobcat. Nothing's clear. Just, I've seen tracks that have the depth of deer tracks. I've seen tracks that have the shape of coyote tracks, and the rounder tracks indicative of the bobcat. And the bobcats don't go down so far, right? Yeah, downright perplexing. Not a rat. No, I mean, I'm over 2 kilometers into the woods now, maybe almost 3 by now, and I haven't seen one sign of rabbit. And this is, it didn't snow last night, so this snow's been down a good 30 hours. There should be sign. This is just amazing. Some interesting topography I thought I'd just share with you. I think this area here at some point was where a big glacier grinded through. There's, as you can see, a rock over there, right? This is sort of like, I'm going to go up a hill eventually here, but this whole area, big rock, right? Very treacherous. It's a great place to snap an ankle. One of the reasons I'm always using a walking stick. Another rock, right? Just bare rocks sticking out of the ground, right? Look at all the rocks over there, just sticking out of the ground. And this isn't confined to one area. It goes on and on and on. You can follow it for like, well, pretty much all the way to the lake down there. And in certain areas, if you listen very carefully at the right time of year, you can hear water underground, right? And as you go up and over here, again, there's more of these rocks. There's a lot of porcupine dens in these sort of areas. They love finding caves under these rocks. But as you go up over here, just make my way over to that. Very treacherous. I mean, look at that hole right there, right? You really got to know your footing and walk in a particular way, up on your toes, right? Either walking in the steps you made before or testing everything. But look at this. Look at all these rocks. Just rocks everywhere, right? I mean, this area was scoured out, right? Also, probably good reason the soil is not that fertile, right? It was just, everything was just scraped off and it was scraped right down to the rocks. And the only thing growing here is these spruce trees. All one kind of tree. And the weird different kinds of little scrub, right? And moss. It's moss and rocks and spruce trees and nothing else. And just bog stuff, right? There's a hill over here. Once you get up the hill, you start seeing birch and maple and, you know, different kinds of bushes. But down here, it's just all one thing. And all of these rocks. I mean, I'm going up about a 45-degree incline right now. Look at this row of rocks. I mean, it almost looks man-made, right? It's like a wall of rocks that goes in both directions. Now, I find that fascinating. But it's also the reason I wear a walking stick. Well, we're back to the area where I saw the porcupine tracks the last time I was out. And there's new tracks here, fresh tracks. So I guess Porky was out last night. Must be something down there that he really likes. I think the porcupine lives up there somewhere. Well, maybe he lives down there on those rocks and goes up here to forage. I don't know. But this isn't far from where I had the snares set. So let's check that out. Here's more porcupine tracks here. I don't know why I went this way. Meandering about, I guess. Anyway, let's check to see if anything got in those snares. If there's any action at all. Nothing. So there's snare number 1. I'm really surprised actually, because it was a good night last night. Snare number 1, untouched. Snare number 2, untouched. Snare number 3, untouched. And over there, snare number 4, untouched. And I don't see any evidence that they're at these boughs. So I guess the rabbits weren't out here last night. That's kind of anticlimactic. I thought I'd see something here today. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm going to monitor this over the next couple of days. This here particular spot isn't too far from where from my backyard, so it's easy. I can hike out here in this particular spot. I can hike out here in 15 minutes. So I'll check this every day this week. And yeah, if this doesn't turn up anything, I think hunting behind the house is probably not a good strategy for this year. I have to go a little further afield. Anyway, that's it for rabbit video number 2. Sorry, I can't seem to produce anything, and it doesn't look like there's anything to produce other than a handful of rabbits that seem to have survived whatever apocalypse. It's like going through like rabbit zombieville. There's just nothing here. It's just amazing. Everything else is here. Deer, bobcat, coyote, squirrel. I mean, everything else is around. So very strange. It's hard to comprehend, you know, but I'll get it a few more times, this particular area, and then I'm gonna have to, you know, burn some gas and try some other spots. I gotta get some rabbits in the pot this year because I didn't get a deer. All right, so now I'm checking it, I guess day 3, which is the second night these have been out. We had a really full moon, you know, moonlit night last night, clear sky, full moon, lots of light. I arrive and the snare, I mean, it's hard to see the tracks now because the snow's reduced a lot, as +4 Celsius today. This snare is completely untouched. Go into the pen. This snare is not exactly as I left it because it was above. There's a chin lifter here and it was above this chin lifter. That could be from a rabbit or a squirrel, who knows. But I'll just reset it. Not sure what moved that. Could be the snare's not wide enough. It's big enough for my fist to go through. Yeah, it could be the snare's just not wide enough. All kinds of reasons. I'll leave that for another day. I'll check it again. This one over here, something got in it and out of it. And that's without lifting it out of this notch. Right? So, I mean, that could be a squirrel, could be a rabbit. It might have just, you know, put its head part way in and backed out. Right? Sometimes they can do that. Right? Some of them are incredibly cagey. Especially when it's a year when there's very few rabbits and the only ones around are the sort of wise, tricky ones. Anyway, I'll have to reset this. Over here, this one's just pushed right out of the way. There's a bit of fur on there. See that? That could be rabbit fur. I'm not an expert. It could be anything. It's relatively long. I don't know if you can even see that in my hand, on my middle finger. There's a little fur in that knot there, but this is just pushed right out of the way. So I'll have to fix that one. So something went through there. Not sure what it is. The tracks actually seem kind of big, like maybe a porcupine went through there and just pushed it out of the way, ducked its head underneath and just pushed it out of the way. And even if a porcupine had gotten in the snare, that 22 gauge wire is not enough to hold a porcupine. It would have just plowed right through. Also, examining the boughs that I left, fresh ones, I don't see, now these are birch boughs. Now they're not, I don't think these are off a yellow birch, which is ideal. I don't see a lot of sign of grazing on the tips. Right? So it could be that a porcupine came in through that hole and went out through the one over there, and that there wasn't rabbit here at all. If for that matter, look, there we go. That's the telltale right there. Fresh poop. That is not rabbit poop. That's porcupine poop. So that's what it looks like. Like a kidney bean. Slightly larger than a kidney bean in a similar shape. Maybe twice the size of a kidney bean, but same shape. So, yeah, it would appear that the only action I had here was, I mean, who knows, right? But I don't see any rabbit droppings here at all. This is ridiculous. I mean, this spot, I pull a rabbit out of here a couple every year, this particular spot. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll reset the snares. I'm going to check them every day this week, or every day I'm able to get back here. If I can't get anything happening here, I'm going to have to burn some gas and go a little further afield. All right, it's been a week since I set these snares out. I set them out last Saturday. Now it's a Sunday, a week later, so a week and a day. And there was only one day when I came out here and I saw any sign that something had visited this area, and it wasn't even clear what it was to be, you know. So checking it today, This one's unmoved, right the way I left it. This one over here, exactly the way I left it. This one over here, exactly the way I left it. Looking at these birch tips, I don't see any sign of feeding here at all. Nothing. There's a whole week with birch tips out, which is, I mean, basically there's been no rabbits through here because they wouldn't have passed up an opportunity like this. The only snare where I see anything as of today is this one. So I mean, I've checked these every day, or almost every day. There was one day, a couple of them were moved, and there's some sign of something having been here, but I think it might have been a porcupine. This is the only sign of anything I've seen since that day, where this has slightly moved out of the way. Right, it would have been set like that. So, boy, it'd have to be an incredibly clever rabbit, or maybe a squirrel or something. Anyway, it's a weird day today. It's freezing rain, and it's Sunday here in Nova Scotia. There's no hunting on Sunday. You're allowed to check snares, but you can't bring firearms into the woods or anything like that, so you don't have to wear orange if you don't want to. So I was just out having a look around the yard to see what trees fell down, because it's pretty, you know, heavy winds, freezing rain usually knocks trees down. I thought, oh, I might as well hike back in the woods. It's only 15-20 minutes away, and check the snare. So honestly, I think for this area this year it's just not worth setting snares. I'm still going to do some snaring, but I'm going to have to, not this weekend because it's Sunday and it's rained all weekend, but hopefully next weekend I can, you know, find a new place, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour's drive from the house, different part of the province, different system. Hopefully whatever's happening here isn't happening there, and there's some better numbers. So that's what I'm going to do, which is a shame because I like just being able to walk out back here. It's very convenient. I can even check, you know, as long as the snares aren't too far from the house, I can check them before or after work. But that's what I'm going to have to do. It just doesn't look like the population's recovered here. I mean, there was certainly a crash last year, and this year it still looks like there's still lots of coyote tracks and things like that around in the snow. So I imagine the predator population has not responded to the reduction in the prey population. So hopefully, you know, things will, I mean, they're still around. There was one night I came out after work, checked the snare. On the way back, I actually saw a rabbit. I mean, I just saw it for a brief second. It didn't even give me a chance for a shot. It took off the minute I spotted it. So I did see one, but, you know, I would say the population here is going to be like 10-20% of what it normally would be, right? So it's just not worth my while, I think, to be setting a whole bunch of snares out here. I mean, normally I might have 20 or 30 snares set on that big 5-kilometer loop I've shown in some of the videos. But there's just no point. As much as I like doing the hike, I just like being out there. It just, you know, if the goal is to, you know, get half a dozen or so, or a dozen rabbits in the freezer, doesn't look like this is the right place for it. So I'm gonna pull these and call it quits for the season in this location. Hopefully next weekend I can get out somewhere else, set some snares, maybe have some luck further afield. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Until next time, hope you enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.